I love that dude. Oreo the Taken King. I love that guy.
Yeah, Oreo.
Yeah, Oreo
So
the Taken King. I love that guy.
yeah. Um,
I mean, his troops
Jesus.
are white and black. What do you expect?
Uh,
Hello and good evening.
this is fantastic. Okay. Um, so base Destiny. I think
Base
you and I both kind of agreed middle of the pack. It's not the worst thing. It's not the best thing. It's kind of
Yeah,
it kind of set the bar, and then everything else was either above or below it.
I
Um,
think so. I think so.
uh, into the dark, dark below. That's what it's called.
Dark Below.
Oh, dude, what if they did call that first thing Into the Dark, and then we end everything with Into the Light? I'm just saying, book ending.
That would be wild.
That would have been super cool. Okay, the Dark Below. I think we said that was a D. Um, like they didn't
I
really.
think we put, yeah, it was either in C or D because like it's the first expansion. It like the only thing you really have to compare it to at that point is base Destiny,
Right.
which I think it was better because it added more stuff and more context to different things. Uh, but overall, like it wasn't like leagues beyond.
Right. It it added more things to do to the game, but did not ex- expand upon what the game was. So as an expansion, I think it was somewhat lacking.
Yeah, because
Um,
even like nowadays, when they were bringing uh, Proto's End back into Destiny 2, they're like Proto's End isn't really like raid difficulty; it's more dungeon difficulty. So
right,
even then, like the content has gotten harder over the course of time
right,
to the point where we could say, oh, that wasn't the hardest thing. It was hard for its time, but it wasn't like the most difficult thing to do.
right. Yeah, and then I think we did House of Wolves at a C behind base Destiny. Um,
I think
cause
those might be switched.
those might be
I
switched.
think House of Wolves we had. I think House of Wolves we had as a D. And
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, okay, and then you put Taken King at an S tier,
yes,
because it as an expansion it greatly expanded upon the game. Got a new enemy type. You got
got new subclasses.
uh, new subclasses, and this is the first time that it actually felt like the story was being expanded upon. Like you have it, like the game is reacting to the events of the Dark Below. Like our actions in game had a direct consequence.
Yeah,
Um,
like hunting Skoloth, that's cool, but really, eh. Hunting Crota was helping Eris's goal, and Eris becomes so much more important throughout the series that I would say, okay, well, Dark Below is like an essential beat to Destiny,
right.
which then leads to Taken King, what, Rise of Iron.
Yes, we're on to Rise of Iron. Initially, you put that at an A,
I did
um,
put it in, and then
but
like the
then I brought up the
mandatory
point.
towns have changed.
Yup, that is when Bungie said, "Hey," because up to this point, everything was on uh, PS3.
Yep.
For those who played on PlayStation. So, did the game originally was it a PlayStation exclusive at first?
So It was. I don't think it was a PlayStation exclusive. I think there were exclusive things to PlayStation
Okay.
for the long. Like there were some like strikes or some weapons and stuff that are like, hey, comes out on PlayStation exclusive first. Um, and then we got to the point where it was okay. We have this game on PS3. Taken King comes out for PS3 and PS4, and that's when they did like the next PlayStation bundle was, hey, you can buy this Taken King bundle. You get a bunch of stuff to go with it,
Mm-hmm.
and you get a special PS4,
Yes.
which was cool, hands down. Was a cool design on the front. Came with the white controller. It was perfect, down to every minute detail. It came out and they were like, hey, can't play on PS3 anymore.
Yeah. So, does that lower the placement? And if it does, how significant of a lowering is that?
I think that has to land it for me at a B.
At a B?
And I think just because of the console of the mandatory console switch, I understand that there's some stuff that is hard with that's hardware limitations or software limitations at the point where like you can't continue playing it on this system at its optimized level, or there's some stuff that we couldn't do without just releasing it on PS4.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, that's dandy. I still think it sucks.
Right. This is basically where I really got into Destiny 2, or Destiny. I'm so used to just calling it Destiny 2. Um, is when Destiny 2 first came out. Base Destiny 2, I remember we did the beta test for it. Um, and we is also a loose term. Um, I remember throwing like a little party at our place, and you came over and played it, and everyone else got to do the first mission and first strike. As soon as it was your turn, servers went down. Like
Yep.
you got to take 2 steps, and you were like, "This is awesome. I want this game."
Contacting Destiny 2 servers. I'm like, no.
um,
I think I did eventually get to play it on my setup,
yes,
and I loved it. First thing I fell in love with was, oh, you can grab onto ledges now.
that I honestly could not imagine playing this game without being able to grab onto ledges.
It is, and I find it funny how many people, like, you watch streamers, you watch gamers, they do not grab onto ledges.
Right. They just jump over
But
it.
but I don't think it would be the same game without being able to jump on ledges.
I think it is important to point out that you and I both main hunters.
Yes.
I recently went back and attempted to play a little bit of Destiny 1, and the thing that kept frustrating me was I would go try to dodge, and I couldn't, and I would die. So also the addition of that second ability, I think, was so huge.
Yeah, no, it because I remember because before it was just uh, you had to have Graviton forfeit the specific exotic helmet in order to dodge,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember using that like religiously. Like that was one of those mainstay items in my inventory for the longest time. Was I have this helmet at all times.
Right.
because I like to dodge.
Uh,
Destiny 2 comes out and you're like, oh,
you,
I can just do it.
you can just dodge every minute and a half.
Yeah, perfect. Or
Um,
every 2 seconds if you have the right build.
that is true. Um, I'm trying to think gameplay wise, because again, this would have been in 2017 that this game released. Um, it wasn't terrible. Um, and this was also, I think, the first time that there was actually where we actually had an in-game linear story, instead of just a vague "go do this because something might happen." Um, I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm thinking like a B or a C, but in front of base Destiny.
I think I think B. I think B. I think like it's better than base Destiny 1
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like how much you had to do and stuff. I think it ran into a similar problem as you're getting into like Dark Below territory as okay, this game just came out, you don't have a bunch of stuff to do, but the
Right.
gameplay is better, the gunplay is better, the power fantasy is better. A bunch of this stuff is better than what it was.
Yeah.
I would probably put it in front of. I would put it in front of Rise of Iron.
Okay. Um.
I think if you gave me Rise of Iron and that base Destiny 2, I think I would play base Destiny 2 first.
Okay. Do you remember when we had the weekly flashpoints?
I remember that and I kind of miss it. There are
Yeah.
some stuff that I miss doing. Like I don't even really do public events that much anymore just cuz I don't
Yeah. I
visit,
I do a public event
right? Like public events were fun.
because I think with the I mean, yeah, I agree that Destiny 2 like a high B, because like the more I think about it, to stay on topic with the public events, that was the introduction of the heroic public events, right?
Yeah, cuz
Yeah.
that was cuz I don't think Destiny 1 I don't think like Destiny 1 like you get to run around and like do bounties and stuff, but I think I don't really. That's how far like back it's been since I played Destiny 1. I don't remember if there were bounties. I'm pretty sure there were, but
Um
at this point, it's like okay, well now you have bounties, you have public events which you can turn heroic for more loot. You have lost sectors. Lost sectors were amazing.
yes.
You're like, hey, go find this hidden hole in the wall and get a chest afterwards. You can get some guns and some new gear.
See, that was kind of the great thing about, vanilla Destiny 2 is like um that made it feel like it was a completely separate game. Um, you
Right?
know,
Like
like I think that very much warranted the two next to it, because
yeah,
it it was not the same as Destiny 1. The lost sectors were amazing, where you had to actually go find them. Like there was a little indicator
like
on the
you have the
map,
little symbol or whatever.
but
You gotta go find them.
it was that like new sense of discovery about everything, and that was awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
everything's new, everything's shiny. Nothing works the same. Like things kind of work the same as they used to, but like it's
I
better.
I think because in vanilla you had the option to use an enhancement an enhancement cube, whatever they're called. And you could change the element type of your
Yep.
elemental weapon. Um,
Yeah,
so
you could change the type of your weapon, and you could change. I think you could change the element of your armor.
yes, that's back when the armor had the elements assigned to them, and then you had the elemental mods, which just made it very complicated. Because
Yeah,
I think it also
like
was like,
I'm trying to think back to it now, and I can't remember if it was like those were your resistances back then.
yes, and then my gut reaction is polar opposite. Curse of Osiris. Um, it as an expansion, I feel like I mean, so it was marketed as an expansion. I feel like it was compared to what we have now in Destiny, it feels more like a season. Um
Yeah,
um we got a new patrol zone in Mercury. Um we got a a somewhat interesting but real no stakes story. Um, and then we really got to explore Osiris more because I think this is also the first time that we had actually seen him in game.
yeah. You. This is the first time you get to actually. You've heard of Osiris so many times,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the first time you actually get to meet Osiris. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, you're the crazy warlock guy.
Right.
Oh, great.
Um, I remember when we first got to
Osiris
Mercury.
is a real Egyptian god.
Well,
I mean, real Egyptian god. I'm seeing now. I've fallen.
our I don't think Egypt is real.
Okay, now you've gone too far.
Now you've gone too far.
Egypt is no. He was like, if you could say Egypt is real, I'm like, no. I think Egypt's a real place. I think you have to. I think you have to be. This is gonna be one of those edited out. And
Yeah, this is going to
like,
be
no, it's gonna stay in.
this is going to be fixed in post.
You say that, and then the point where you say, "Oh, it's gonna be fixed in post," is still in the video too.
Probably.
I would put it in C. It's the first. It runs for me. It runs into the same problem that Dark Below runs into.
Mm-hmm.
It is the first expansion of a new game.
Okay.
You have the only downside is you have all of and I don't want to say baggage from Destiny 1 as a bad thing. You just have the fact that Destiny 1 as a game exists behind the fact that now you have like a baseline. Like you have an existing baseline. You're like, okay, well, I need my power fantasy game to be here. And for some people, Curse of Osiris did not hit that. Me personally, I don't abhor Curse of Osiris.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would say Curse of Osiris is better than Warmind. And not have a problem saying that.
Okay.
I think that Curse of Osiris, it's cool that we got to go to Mercury for the first time. It's cool that we got to meet Osiris. I do think the story was a little bit more campy than I was imagining.
Mm-hmm.
Than I think it should be. There are more stakes in sure, Destiny 2, base Destiny 2, stakes are high. You just had the light taken away from you.
Right.
And then you kind of just got it back at the end, and that was cool, and that was great. Plus new supers and stuff. That's amazing. Curse of Osiris, you don't get new supers. You don't get anything super duper valuable.
Mm-hmm.
The story beat while being kind of campy, does have some stakes because you're like looking at the Vex, who, while like you're thinking about it, aren't like a super big threat all the time. You have to think of like you think about the underlying stuff, like, oh, the Vex can just make it so people don't exist
Right.
throughout any universe, throughout any multiverse, throughout any timeline. Nothing. You're negated. You never existed.
Right.
And you get to go into those dark. You get to go in like to the like the futures and the pasts and like figure out like, oh, this is what stuff was like before. Oh, this is like what stuff might be after if we're not careful.
Right. I think for me, like, so I don't have that big of a problem saying, it is very similar as The Dark Below. My biggest issue is it it felt like the community was like, "Hey Bungie, can we go back to Venus?" And they said, "We have Venus at home." Um like it I mean, it honestly felt like Venus Light. Like, you have the Vex there, and that was basically our main area for Vex. I think Io also had the Vex there, but only in one area of the map, and this was like a specifically Vex area. It was like they threw um, Venus and Mars into one with Mercury. And then the Infinite Forest, I think, was very disappointing. It was cool that, in theory, no journey through the Infinite Forest would be the same as any other time going into it. Um, but the amount of which you were limited and how often you could actually enter the forest was very disappointing.
Right. Like I wish they would have, and I feel like that. I feel like that's one of those like over delivery moments that you're
Mm-hmm.
like, it could have been so much, but at the point that you have it, there's only so much you can put in.
Okay, so you said C. I personally was thinking D. Um, so I think for now we'll just put that. No matter what, it'll be at the tail end of C. Um,
We'll put it low C.
yeah.
I think that's fair. I think
Um,
that's fair.
Now you said something that I thought was actually surprising, that you would put Curse of Osiris above Warmind.
Yeah, I would put, and like thinking about it, they like when I played it, I was excited that we had new content. I was
Mm-hmm.
excited because I'm like, hey, I like this is giving me a reason to not go back and play Destiny 1. This is giving me a reason to not play Skyrim. This is giving me a reason to not like train up on my fighting games because I'm playing this right now. And that was great, but then it stagnated at a certain point.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it like I like Curse of Osiris because of the content. I like Warmind like because of the because of the story beat, but then after that, it's what we we get a strike boss that should have been like about as hard. Like I think that could have been as hard as Crota, and
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Yeah, it definitely felt like the power scaling was very off there. Because, I mean, at that point, the only being in existence that we know of that had killed a worm god was Oryx.
Yeah,
And
because he made right because he made a ship out of it.
right. And we took out, I don't even remember the worm god's name. Uh
So
was it Zol? Yeah, it was Zol.
yeah, it
Um
was
you know, we took him out like it was nothing, and it was like you said, it was a strike boss.
yeah.
It
I
did
think it could have
not.
been so much
So
worse.
devil's advocate here.
So
This did introduce escalation protocol, which
okay, this did okay, okay, okay. This did put in escalation protocol. I will give you that.
yes. So I think that activity alone kind of redeemed that whole, like everything else that was lacking. Um, so, I mean, I don't, obviously I would still, excuse me, I would still say C, but I would honestly, um, I don't know if I would put this before Destiny or behind Destiny.
I think you could put it in front of base Destiny 1. In my brain, like community wise, people are like, oh well, this was these both were very poor expansions, but I think there isn't really that much that was worse than Destiny 1,
Mm-hmm.
just because like so much stuff added on to what was already there that it's not like leagues better, but it's not
Right.
bad.